Good afternoon. My name is Karla Walter, and I'd like to thank Kelly from the Barrington Area Library to invite me today to talk to you about the health benefits of pumpkin. A little bit about myself. I've been a nutritionist for 25 years, and it's a passion of mine helping people understand food and the effects of their health that it can have. And I also work at the Barrington Area Library. So let's talk pumpkin. It's a beautiful time of the year to be talking pumpkin, as we see that just about every store has some different type, shape of pumpkin on display, whether you're going to use them as an ornament or whether you're going to purchase them for cooking. This is a beautiful time where Mother Nature shows us that it's time to start incorporating these foods in our diet, because we've got the leaves turning gold, yellow, orange, and of course red. So moving out of the late harvest season into the fall is just such a beautiful time. So let's take a little look at the history first of pumpkin. Archaeologists have discovered that pumpkins have been around for about 3,000, since 3000 BC. Some archaeologists think it's 7,000. I wasn't there, and I'm not going to dispute that with them. I just think it's amazing that they've been around that long. We know that actually by some of the archaeological digs that were done for the indigenous people of the US. Also, we know more so in our modern time, if you can call the 1500s modern, but when the conquistadors came to the Americas and moved through this country and met up with the indigenous people, it was then that they started to trade, and they took the seeds and plant material with them back to Europe. And that's how we know that they started to sort of move around the world, and this plant started to grow in other areas. So it has certainly a long history. Now we know it's grown all over the world and enjoyed by millions of people. We do want to clear up one word, and that's the word squash, and that's the umbrella word. So everything is a squash, and then underneath that we can compartmentalize the different types of squash, or what we might call pumpkin. So we also have our summer squash and we have our winter squash. And our summer squash is defined by the fact that you can eat the skin. That is a zucchini, that is patty pans, crooked neck squash. They all come under that umbrella of the summer squash. And then over in the winter side, we have acorn squash, we have butternut pumpkin, we have gourds, we have sweet pumpkin, and then where I come from in Australia, we have something called the Queensland blue, if anybody's interested to look that up on a Google search. They grow quite large, really thick skin. And again, that's what differentiates winter squash, because the skin is inedible. The Queensland blue that I grew up on was always roasted or baked in the winter time. It's a very beautiful, sweet flesh, but we were never allowed to cut it as children because the skin was so thick. We were always concerned that someone might cut their finger. So that's sort of the way that we talk about squash and pumpkin. And then from there, we can see, you know, some of the health benefits. The majority of these foods have very similar mineral and vitamin content, but today we're going to specifically look at the pumpkin. The main thing that we look at when we're talking about orange vegetables, of course, is the beta carotene in them. Now, beta carotene is a provitamin A, and it's readily converted to vitamin A in the body. So we have found that eating these types of food, it supports our eye health, strengthens our vision, it prevents certain diseases such as heart disease and cancer. So it's a very important piece of the puzzle of the nutrients when we're looking at different types of foods that we're introducing into our diet. We do know at the moment that the leading cause of blindness is macular degeneration here in the US for people over the age of 60. And it's certainly something that you know, researchers are constantly looking at, depending on types of food and supplements and medications that they can be taking. I'm not saying that if you increase your beta carotene levels in pumpkin that it's going to take that away. I'm asking people to incorporate it in their diet. I don't know what's down the road for most people. No one does. But if we can eat foods that actually help to support us, then we might have a better chance at actually not perhaps having some of these ailments later on in life. The other wonderful thing that's about pumpkin is it has riboflavin or vitamin B2. Now, vitamin B2 helps to break down proteins, fats, and carbohydrates. Now, why do we want to do that? Well, we want to break those particles down in the body, and so we can take the energy from that, and then that's what's put into every cell. So that's what we call ATP. So that's where we get our energy from, and it's really important that B2 is in our diet to help that process happen. We can get our energy from many different areas, but we certainly want to keep looking at foods high in vitamin B2 for that very reason. Vitamin C, we know that vitamin C is a very important ingredient in our diet as a vitamin, and it acts as an antioxidant to help protect cells against free radicals. And the free radicals are what we're trying to eliminate from the body, so that helps keeping all our cells nice and healthy. Vitamin E is really important for our immune system, and it's an antioxidant. Again, it helps to fight age-related cells, and it's linked with many chronic diseases, including cancer. So vitamin E's antioxidant activity may support, a long-term eye health. It may support long-term, health in so many other areas of our body. So again, it's another piece of the puzzle of why we're eating pumpkin. We're only talking a cup, don't forget. We're not talking, you don't have to eat, pounds of pumpkin. We're only talking about 1 cup as a serve, and we'll talk more about what's in 1 serve in a moment. Pumpkin also has iron. It helps to preserve many vital functions in the body, including our health, our gastrointestinal health, and it helps our immune health, and it regulates the body's temperature. That is a key component to making sure that our hormones are working well, helping to regulate our temperature. It has magnesium and phosphorus, and that also helps to control bone health and our blood pressure. So 1 vegetable alone is just having this fantastic impact on our overall health. When I said that, 1 cup, what's that in the recommended daily allowance? So it only has 49 calories. It has a 0.01% saturated fat, which is negligible. It has no cholesterol. It has 2.7 grams of fiber, which is so important for our digestive system and to help make waste, because the body needs to remove those parts of the food that we eat and other areas cells that we're getting rid of, and be able to remove them from the body. It only has 12 grams of carbohydrates, and we were looking at ATP earlier with vitamin B2, so we want slow releasing energy. So these are slow releasing carbohydrates in the body. It also has potassium, and potassium is very, very good to help regulate those fluids in the body. People who have fluid retention, also people who have lung issues with high levels of mucus. In Chinese medicine, they say that it can help to dry up some of that mucus in the body. So there's many and varied ways in which we can look at the pumpkin and have it incorporated for our health. Also in Chinese medicine, if we take a little look at some of the other areas of alternative medicine, they call it a sweet food. It thickens the blood, which we've talked about earlier with it being helpful to our immune system. Our blood is our lifeline. And so when we've got what we call healthy, energized blood, then things get deposited when we sleep into the right areas to repair us when we sleep. So this is, again, something that's very interesting, the way that the Chinese medicine look at how these vegetables can work inside the body. As I said, it's quite sweet. Some time ago, I talked about the 5 different flavors: salt, sweet, sour, bitter, and pungent, and how we need all those 5 flavors in our diet. We need a little extra sweet at this time of the year, and that doesn't mean that we eat more ice cream or have more sugar. It means that we have more of these sweet vegetables in our diet, which help crave any sweet flavor cravings that we have. and also doesn't spike our blood sugar levels, which has a tendency to happen when we're having refined sugar. Also, when we're having too much refined sugar, that heavy sweet, we're looking for something salty. And when we're having these types of sweet in our diet, it helps to balance that out, so we're not searching for that spike and having a look for that salty food. One of the other things about pumpkin is that it is very nourishing to the body. It helps us satisfy our, as I was just talking about, our cravings, but there is something really calming about having this type of food. We tend to cook pumpkin a lot longer, all the root vegetables that are coming into the season. So when we're cooking them a lot longer, we're holding that energy, we're holding that warmth, and that's actually what we're ingesting into our body. So I hope that overview of, some of the more important aspects of why we eat pumpkin are helpful to you. And now I just want to shift gears a little bit and demonstrate for you a really lovely pumpkin recipe about stuffing a pumpkin that you can put literally anything into it. You would have already been sent a recipe, and you'll see on the recipe that I've used the word optional many times because there's many things that you can actually put in this pumpkin. So let me put on my apron. I do hope everyone that's cooking wears an apron. It's just something that I've always done when I've been teaching in some of the colleges here over the years. I've always worn an apron. I always get my students to wear them. And it's always a great gift that you can give somebody too, is a nice apron. My apron has little hearts on it. I've always believed that when you're in the kitchen, you should be there because you want to be there, not because it's a chore. And there's lots of wonderful things that you can do to make cooking an absolute joy. I also have a wooden spoon with a little heart in it. I hope you can see that, yes. Again, I just think it's a really great idea that when you go into the kitchen, that you're happy. So today's recipe is a stuffed pumpkin, or also called an acorn squash. And just reading through the ingredients, I've said on the recipe that you can either have 4 small acorn or small sweet pumpkins, or you can use 1 large. And the large would be about the size of a small basketball. And it might be about that big. So that's sort of the size, and then you cut it into 4, so it's got servings of 4. Also in the recipe is rice, tempeh, which I'm going to talk about in a moment, some chicken, olive oil, salt, onion, garlic, ginger, mushrooms, carrots, zucchini, parsley or dill, and ground almonds. And so let's just go through some of those first. So I've got my chopped onion, 1. Then we have some chopped ginger and chopped garlic. Then we had our chopped carrots. I've diced these today. Zucchini, mushrooms, cooked rice. Cook your rice first. I'm a person who always uses brown rice. If you want to use white rice, that's fine. You can use basmati rice. That's okay too. But I'm a brown rice lady. Chopped ground almonds, and that's for a little bit of texture, because when you cook all these vegetables together, you'll find that you have a very soft component of that. And I included the almonds for a little bit of crunch. Now, the other thing that I've included in this today is something called tempeh. And not everybody has heard of tempeh. People have heard of tofu. Tempeh is a soybean product as well. And one of the things that I like about tempeh is that I've cut it up, and you can see that I've just lightly sauteed it in some olive oil. And again, it gives it a little crunch. It gives it a little bit more texture. I'm going to push this screen down so you can actually see what I'm doing here. So I'm just going to do that, and hopefully this will all work in a different way. I just want to show you the tempeh because I do think it's important, especially for our viewers who might be vegetarian or vegan. So as you can see, it's a soybean product. It does have some texture to it. And what I do is just chop it into lengths. It came in this long packet, tempeh, plain. You can get it flavored. I'm a plain person because I like to flavor it myself. And then you can, again, just chop it into, slice it into small pieces and just saute that, and then that'll change the flavor. If you wanted to saute this, you could put it into a bag with some garlic, ginger, and some tamari or soy sauce, and then that will give you more of a Southeast Asian flavor. So I'm just going to put my tempeh to one side. That's just to help you understand what tempeh is. For meat eaters, use chicken. For people who would choose to eat pork, you can put pork in this. You could put some sort of red meat in there as well. I would just cut it up very fine. You certainly don't want it in large chunks. You just want to make sure that it's going to saute and cook in time, that what we're looking for here, and you'll see at the end product how we can just slice it. One of the things that I did want to demonstrate today was actually how to cut this pumpkin and how to cut the top out of it for people who might not be familiar with that. One of the things that you want is a really sharp knife. The knives in my house are absolutely razor. Always have been and always will be. And you want a cloth to actually protect your hand is one way to do this. And then what I do, the blade must always face away from you. Never cut into a pumpkin with it coming towards you, because if you slip and you have a very sharp knife, it doesn't take much. And we want to avoid that at all costs. So I did want to just demonstrate what it's like to take the pumpkin top out. And so you can see what it looks like inside and what you need to do then. But you want to cut it at an angle. And as you can see, the skin is very hard, but you want to cut it down as an angle. And as you pull it out, you can see how it moves away from me. I am never at any stage going to pull that towards me. It's just too dangerous. And as I say, you need a very sharp knife, and these are razor, as you can see. So let me just quickly go around there. I have this dishcloth over. It's a just in case. And I think everybody needs to, when you're working with really sharp knives, you definitely need to work for just in case and always protect yourself and anybody else that might be around. Especially if children are around, just you might want to get them just to step back a little bit. Okay, a few more slices here and you'll see how this cut comes out. Oh, there we go. A little bit more. Go back, fix. You can just hear it pop just a little bit as it comes loose. And again, with the blade away from you, oh, there's a little bit more. You just want to pull it up a little bit. And there's our little lid. Now, the next part is actually taking all the seeds out. And as you can see, my knife is razor sharp, and you want to just cut the top out of that. And then with a spoon, oh, sorry, you just rinse that off there. And then you just go into your pumpkin and then you just maneuver your spoon all the way around, and then you just take out all the seeds. It's very, very simple. Then once all the seeds are actually out, there's two things that you can do. You can discard the seeds, or if you want, you can actually wash them and then dry roast them. So then you've got your very own pumpkin seeds, and pumpkin seeds are as beneficial as the pumpkin itself when it comes to the health benefits. So I'm not going to continue to take all that out. I'll do that in a moment after I finish this talk with you. But that's what's going to happen. And then what would happen next once all the seeds are out on the recipe sheet, You get your basting brush and with some olive oil, and then you're going to baste inside your pumpkin. And then you're going to pop the lid back on, line it up, like that, I think it's, and then you're going to bake that just on its own for 30 minutes at 380 degrees Fahrenheit. Now, I like to put this in a baking dish with 3 cups of water. It's just something that I've always done. You don't have to do it. You can just dry bake it as it is. But the 30 minutes actually start the cooking process to help this start to soften up. And that's what you want to do, because you're actually then going to stuff it and fill it. So before we get to that part, I'll put that further up there. So we've got our onion, which was on our list. We've got our ginger. We have garlic. We have carrots chopped up. We have chopped up zucchini. I like brown rice. I've always cooked with brown rice. You can cook with white rice. You can cook with basmati rice. I've just cooked with brown rice. Entirely up to you. But that's got to be cooked first. We have mushrooms, and then we have almonds. And the reason that I have the almonds here is to just for a little bit of texture. Otherwise, everything is rather soft. And then I have used tempeh in this recipe. First and foremost, as the recipe says, you would saute your onion, ginger, and garlic together first. Then you're going to add your carrot and your mushroom and your zucchini. Then you would add your almonds and your rice and mix that through and let the rice heat up along with the tempeh. Or if you have chosen to cook chicken, then you've got your diced chicken and then you would add that in at that same time. Let me just move those back out of the way and I'll show you what it looks like once it's all been sauteed together. The herb I've used is dill because I just love it. Lots of people don't like it, but it's entirely up to you. Other herbs that would be wonderful with this dish are sage, basil, and parsley. Just all of those herbs are beautiful. You can use a little combination, but I just tend to use one herb when I'm doing something like this because I just want that particular flavor. Sage in this is just absolutely delicious. So that's what your mixture looks like. And then that is the mixture then that you are going to, once you've had your pumpkin cook for 30 minutes, let me just bring that in front of that again. So once that's cooked for 30 minutes, then you would take the top off. It's empty, of course, and then you'll place all this mixture into your pumpkin. You will put the lid back on it, and then back it goes into the oven for another 30 minutes. And then it comes out magically. And it comes out looking like this. So I've made one that was a small one just for 1 or 2 people. And so then this is what it looks like when it's cooked. And so when it comes out of the oven, you can see that it's been filled. And then just before you're ready to serve, you can either cut it in half or you can cut it into quarters. And then you have this beautiful pumpkin that's been stuffed with all these lovely, lovely ingredients. So that is the recipe that I have given you today. And this is such a beautiful, sweet recipe. On the recipe sheet, I said everything was optional. You can put leftover vegetables in this. You can put corn in this as well. There are just so many different vegetables that are in the supermarket or in your refrigerator that you can use. Oh, bring that up a little bit again so I'm speaking to you at the right level. Thank you for today. Thank you for Kelly. I do hope that you enjoy the winter and the fall with your pumpkins, and thank you very much for your time today. Bye.